Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about the brand new timeline battle buff character list because this was introduced with the latest update. We thought it was going to make a big splash, and it has not. So I want to critique this properly. I want to give advice to players and also to the devs so that they can make this actually work for the players, because right now it is not working for the players. Now we're still waiting on, in case you're wondering, we're still waiting on substantial changes to timeline battle. This is a very small part of that. We are hoping for brand new leagues. We are hoping for brand new rules and restrictions and buffs and you know, much more incentive to play with different teams. This is a small way to incentivize you to play with different teams, as is the recommended list, but it's really not enough. So we need really big incentives, and we are also still waiting for massive overhauls to the rewards, the weekly rewards, the participation rewards. These need to be improved, more crystals, more gold, and then we are also looking for, and they have already mentioned that they're going to be improving the honor token shop rewards. Now, some eagle-eyed viewers, fans, have already noticed that they did change the icon for the honor token. The one right up at the top there next to my crystals. I think I mentioned it in the first impressions video, but it has been changed. My advice to you, save your honor tokens. You can see I'm rocking 57,700. I always float near the cap. There is a cap for honor tokens. It's 60,000. If you try and fight, if you hit get ready and you hit search for opponent, it will give you a pop-up saying you cannot hold more than 60,000 honor tokens. Are you sure? When you get that pop-up, you go back to the token shop. I like to spend it on some bios. I just go over here and I hit up some bios. I get like 10 to 15 bios. This is just a nice little supply for me. You can also hit it up for the cards. The cards are not very good, to be fair, but it gives you a few more cards to combine up to 6-star cards if you're trying to make more regular mythic cards for fodder. Okay, so we've covered what we're still expecting from timeline battle that we haven't gotten yet. So now let's cover what they have changed. They introduced this buff character list. This is the list for Vibranium here, and it's a short list, and the little 1 indicates the tier. The tier indicates how much extra or bonus attack, defense, and HP these characters are getting. So if you hold down on the question mark up there, it'll explain what I just said. So basically, Sandman, Lizard, Hellcat, all those characters you see are getting a 10% attack, defense, HP buff. That's not enough, just plain and simple. These are among the worst characters in the game. These characters have been released, years ago. Singularity, I'm pretty sure, is from 2015. So some of these characters are 5+ years old. They've never gotten uniforms, or they've gotten uniforms that have done very little to change the character, like Satana or other characters here. They cannot hold a candle to tier 3 Jean Grey, tier 3 Silver Surfer. Now, I will pause for a second and say that I'm really happy to see, I'm very impressed to see Sentry already banned. Not only in Platinum, or not only in Vibranium, but also in Platinum. Sentry has been banned this week, only a month after, or a month and a half after his release. That's excellent. That's really good, because he was everywhere. Every team had Sentry. So give players a breather for a week. He can come back next week. It's not a big deal, right? Don't be afraid to ban characters. Don't be afraid to ban Sentry and Jean Grey, or ban Sentry and Silver Surfer. Don't be afraid. It's okay. Do it. So I'm happy to see that. They also banned a couple of other characters that aren't really used, but you got a little bit of Scarlet Witch, you got a little bit of Quicksilver, a little bit of Wolverine and Strife, but for the most part, the other characters are just never used for PvP. But Sentry was banned, so that's good. The restricted list is fine, whatever. But the buff character list is just not good enough. But that's not the only problem. So the first problem is that these characters need way more than a tier 1 buff. If that little 1 was a 5, if you were going to give me a 50% attack, defense, and HP boost to somebody like Yellow Jacket, or I don't know, maybe some of these characters could compete, and that would be really entertaining. But I'm talking 5 times more than you've given them. Minimum to compete with tier 3s. Just take a look at the tier 3 stat bump, right? When you tier 3 a character, you're literally doubling, tripling their stats. So take a look at Black Bolt, right? You got his tier 2 stats, 5,000 energy attack, 15,000 HP, or 16,000. Boom! You literally doubled his HP from 16,000 to 32,000. So that's 100% more HP. So actually, I was wrong. 5 tier is not enough. You got to go at least 10 tier. So my advice for the devs is you have to change these buffs This has to be 20%. It has to start at 20%. 20% attack, defense, and HP for one tier. And then go up to 5 tiers, which would be a 100% increase. Because that would equate to, that would be like seeing what, you know, what would it be like if Mantis was a tier 3 without a tier 3 skill, but she had tier 3 stats, right? So then you're getting into an interesting conversation. Now players are interested and they want to know more. They're like, you know what? I always wondered, how would Satana play with 100% more attack, defense, or HP, or Yondu, right? Maybe some of these characters are good. Maybe some people want to mess around and throw a CTP on Kingpin to see if him and his clones can do some work with 100% more HP and defense. We don't know, but we're never going to know when it's 10%. That's the first problem. The first problem is the buff is not enough, and that the buff list. Okay, let's talk about the buff list here. These characters are bad, but you're missing a lot of good characters that could compete. Like, why isn't Heimdall on my list, for example? Heimdall is one of my recommended characters, but nobody uses Heimdall or Cull Obsidian. If you gave Cull Obsidian a nice buff, I would honestly try him, but he's not on the buff list. Why isn't he on the buff list? Why are you going to rotate the buff list every week? Just throw a bunch of characters in the buff list. Throw like 50 characters, it's fine. But then you go and look at the other leagues, and it's really confusing. So this is the Platinum League list, and you can see it's basically the same characters that I have, plus Morbius, Arachnite, and Rocket, and Adam Warlock. There may be some other characters, or like Pimptron, whatever, Giant Man, but you know, these characters, like Morbius is good. I think Morbius with a substantive buff, with a 30 or a 50% attack, defense, HP buff, could definitely work. But why is it only in Platinum? And then you go to other leagues, like this is Gold League, and they added in some other characters as well. You got Korath, you got Ulysses Claw, you've got Goliath, you got Robbie Reyes. Again, this is still Gold. They added in Killmonger and Wave. Guys, these characters are bad. Why are you putting them in the lower leagues? Nobody has Killmonger, right? Nobody has Wave. You're going into lower leagues and you're putting in more restrictive characters? That doesn't make sense. The Whales and the Spenders are going to be in Vibranium. You should put all the paywall characters there. Like, you put Ironheart there, but why didn't you put Killmonger there? It doesn't make sense. And then you go over here and you look at Bronze. Why did you guys put three Danger Room characters in Bronze? Who in Bronze is going to be using these characters? The only players using these characters are Whales or Spenders or Veterans who quit and have come back like a month or two later, and they dropped from Vibranium to Bronze. Yeah, maybe they can have some fun with these characters, but it's only going to last for a week because the buff is not in every league. So it doesn't really make sense to me. The buff list should be for every league simultaneously, and it should have all the same characters. It doesn't really make sense to have certain characters in certain leagues. It's just frustrating. Like, for example, let's say I'm in Silver and I really wanted to use Negasonic. I can't now unless I'm in Bronze. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So it should be the same. And you should not put any native tier 2s. Native tier 2 characters like him and like Strife and Adam Warlock, they should not be on this list. This list should be for tier 1 characters only. It's really, you got to be really careful with this because you're going to ruin it otherwise. And yeah, so those are the major problems that I see. There are a couple of other problems that are just annoying. So for example, let's say I want to be adventurous and I want to put I don't know, Inferno. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try with Inferno. So let me go get Inferno. So I go over here, and as you can see, it first shows me the list of the recommended characters that I'm going to get bonus points for using. You've got Cull Obsidian, Weapon Hex, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Heimdall. And now look what happens. They put all of the characters who are buffed. And remember, I said they should have a list of like 50, but they put them all in a row. Guys, this is not the way to do it. This is a really poor UI decision. Because now if I want to get to my other characters, let's say I change my mind. Or let's say, you know what, I put Inferno on my team, I play one match, and Inferno gets absolutely dunked. And I'm like, you know what, I changed my mind. I want to go back to Jean Grey. I got to scroll all the way through this list to find Jean Grey again. I mean, I can speed it up by pressing the little button to make it 2 rows instead of 1. But still, imagine they add more characters to the buff list. This is dumb, guys. Just put the characters in the menu and just let us scroll through and find them. Putting them at the front doesn't make any sense. Or just figure out a different way of doing this, but doing it like this is not good, because for players that don't want to participate in the buff system, now you're forcing them to scroll through their entire roster, or you're forcing them to find their favorite character and they have to favorite it every single time for every single week of PvP. So yeah, those are the major issues right now with this system. It's not really in use at all. If you take a look at if you just go into any league, I guarantee you, if you go and you just spend some time and refresh through, there are no... Okay, that's hilarious. But none of those characters are buffed for Vibranium. So this guy's just joking around. But all the teams are exactly the same. Literally nothing has changed. Now I know some of these practices, some of these new changes take a long time. They take maybe a week or two to be adopted by the community, by the player base. But no, nobody's adopting this because it just doesn't work. It does not work at all. There's no way that a level 62 Inferno is going to be able to compete here with any of these characters just because you gave him a 10% buff. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not enough of a buff for it to make any impact whatsoever. And I'll even, you know what, let's go ahead and fight this guy, and I'm going to show you what I mean. There's no way. I mean, sure, I could build my Inferno more, but he only has a 10% buff. He's got, what, 87,000 HP? So you can see here that his Anti-Man, who's not even level 62, he's level 60, he doesn't have the 10% buff, and he's way better. All right, Anti-Man, yeah, okay. Whoa, look at this sick damage that I'm doing. Look at the effect look at the 0 effect that I'm having on Anti-Man. I mean, yeah, sure, he's guard breaking me, but it's not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. You're just gonna go back to playing your regular characters with your regular strategies, right? If these characters are underused, they're underused for a reason. So to be useful, they need to have enough of a buff to be impactful, right? There's just no way that any of these characters with a 10% buff are gonna be able to do anything against Silver Surfer, Jean Grey, Colossus, Hulk, Black Widow, all tier 3, right? Because you only banned Sentry and a couple of other characters. So yeah, I really like the idea of a buff character list. I really want them to focus on this and improve it, because I think that this could be a really big game changer. This kind of buff, along with changes to rewards, could make PvP so much fun, because you could log in and you could have a different list of characters that are buffed each week, but the buff is meaningful to the point where you're like, you know what? I'm kind of tired of playing as Sentry or Silver Surfer and winning all my games easily. I want a little bit of a challenge. So this is going to be my project for this week. I'm going to build up Yellow Jacket. I'm going to build him for PvP. He's got a 50% attack, defense, HP buff. I think that's enough to make it work, right? But a 10% buff is just not enough. It's not enough at all. It makes no difference. These characters get clowned. I didn't even play against a meta team. If I was going to play against a meta team, Inferno would get absolutely annihilated in one hit. And there's no doubt 10% HP is not going to help you, because look at how much HP he has, 28,000. What's 10% of that? 8,000? It's not. It's less than 3,000 HP. It's a joke. He's not going to do anything, right? With an extra 2,000, 3,000 HP, you got attacks that are hitting for 50, 60,000 a pop. You could literally double his HP and he still wouldn't survive. But that's why I said it has to be 100% at the very least. So yeah, hopefully the devs see this. Hopefully the devs put more effort into this. Leave your comments down below with what you think of this new system and how you would improve it. I really like the idea. I just think that the execution has been very poorly thought out, and it's just not deep enough. The system right now is very shallow, and they need to add more depth to it. They need to add more layers to it, more complexity, and they also need to add much more buffs to it to highlight these bad, or highlight these sort of underused, weaker characters. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for listening. Hit me up in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.